a little later than usual, about almost 1:15. I try to get on about 1. Um, did a little bit of a longer yoga session. I'm doubling up on my um, Navy SEALs. Oh, I'm sorry. What am I thinking? I'm thinking burpees. I'm always thinking burpees. I'm doubling up. Double is not the right word, as I'm doing more than double. Um, I'm doing considerably more time doing sun salutation, which is just one of my favorite things to do. And it does wonders for the entire body. I wrote about it the other day, and I might seem to bring it back up and read it from my blog, actually, if I can find a way to do so without being too distracted and looking away from the camera too often, too much. Had a fun conversation with you guys yesterday about all kinds of stuff. Got very weird, as it is meant to get when I'm talking to a bunch of burpee practitioners and ultra runners and friends and family. Um, I don't consider that I would ever possibly have anything but weird people in my life. If you're in my life, just because you're weird. And I'm saying that in the best possible way. I'm saying that in the WYRD way, that you are connected within my web. I am connected within your web of weird. Um, that we are vibrating on the same frequency. When um, a strand within my web is vibrating, yours responds similarly. As you vibrate, I respond as well. That seems to be how it is. We can't escape it. There's no need to escape it or to even try, although we do try. And we do try by introducing um, differences, by introducing um, thoughts of separation, by introducing opinions. Um, you can't be in the same web of weird with me if you're a Republican, if you're a liberal, if you're a uh, Christian, if you're a heathen, if you're a whatever. Then we must belong to different tribes, different webs, different entire lives altogether. That's what we think. It's not what we are. It's not reality. Reality, can you find a separation between any particle existing as me and any particle existing as you? If you can, let me know. If you see a dividing line between my actual reality, not my perceived reality, but my actual reality, my web of existence, my vibratory field of energy, if you can find one single point of separation between me and you, between a conservative and a liberal, between a Christian and a heathen, whatever a heathen is, if you find that, I'd be interested in seeing it. You're not going to find it. It just doesn't exist. Physicists have shown it just doesn't exist. When I am gone, whatever this is, that was a hand gesture by the way, guys. When I am gone, particles that were once me will still be existing. They will be something else. They'll be a leaf. They'll be part of a tree. They'll be whatever, a fish's gill. It gives me hope to see a spring flower and think particles that were once my father, once my mother, once my grandparents are now becoming something else or someone else. There's no distinction in the world of particles, of course. Just as easily attract themselves to be a person of distinction, a famous person, as they are to be a person without distinction, someone living in the streets. How is that for erasing any sense of self-importance? You could just as easily been a fish's gill. You could just as easily been a flower's bloom. You could just as easily been anything. And yet you're this, but you're not always going to be. You're going to be something else entirely and not too far away. We talk about, I talk about death fairly frequently, not in a morbid kind of way, but in a Ram Dass, be here now, because one, there's no other place to be. Two, you're not always going to be here now. Not in this specific form, not with this specific personality, not with your own uniqueness. We will be something else entirely. Who knows what? It's the great mystery. Truly, most Buddhist schools speak of rebirth rather than reincarnation. And who's to say either way? But a rebirth happens every moment. What happened to the baby you? I'm not calling you a baby. What happened to the infant you? What happened to the teenage you? It's gone. Yet, that essence within the awareness of our reality remains the same. But something was reborn, something rebirthed, became pretty amazing. Let's see. I just got a text from Milka, who is busy, actually doing me a favor. So I don't think she will be here this afternoon, which is fine. I saw her this morning. I will see her again later. Always a pleasure. When you want to spend just as much time with your ex-wife as you did when you were married, you've done something right. Or you've done something completely wrong, which is why she's your ex-wife. A little bit of both, probably. However, I still want to spend just as much time with her now, as I did then. I almost got that backwards. I caught myself. So, boy, talk about wandering. And I do. Because I started talking about sun salutation and yoga. And then somehow got to separation, to rebirth, to my ex-wife. And the enjoyment of time that I spend with her. Time of enjoyment. I notice most things I say, I can flip them around and it makes just as much sense, maybe more sense, which tells you everything I need to know about how backwards my conversations actually are. Hello, Milka. She's here. I've just said that you did me a favor, that you, and that I probably wouldn't expect to see you here this afternoon. But thanks for stopping by. I'm happy that you did. I was talking about yoga, separation, rebirth. Probably should lead me towards karma. Maybe. The mistaken belief that karma is punishment. We are punished for a bad deed that we are rewarded for a good deed, instead of karma being true to its actual meaning, which is motion. Karma is motion, which goes with rebirth. What did I say about you? Milka asked. Nothing good. I tried to think of something good. I hit a blank. No, I said nothing but good things. That when you want to spend as much time with someone now that you are no longer married as when you were married, then you must be doing something right. Speaking of me, that for what that's worth, that my relationship towards you is as rich and as deep and as meaningful, more so now, 21 plus years later, 22, was it 22? Coming up in 22 years later, and it has only deepened, not because it's been problem-free, but because of those problems, because of issues, because of whatever, because of having to confront my own quirks, my own mistakes, my own weirdness, my own repetitiveness, um, that stuff would not be true. Um, saying bad stuff about you, about anyone, only becomes a reflection, projection. Um, and that's the great thing about a relationship. If you give up because you're hitting all these really tough patches because of whatever, you're failing to see what's going on inside of you, which I did completely. I failed to see so much. But when you can be open, responsible, I love the word responsible, but not in that way where you're taking responsibility for something, but respondability, that I am able to respond, that I'm not the sum total of mistakes that I've made, that I am able to respond from each and every one of them, and always expand. I'm not fond of that self-growth expression, that we're always growing, we're always, because who are we to grow? Who are we to expand? As I mentioned earlier, with rebirth, I am not, Mocha says since 2002, which is an excellent point, because I am not the same person that I was in 2002, and Mocha is not the same person she was in 2002. She has been reborn infinite times since that moment that I met her, as have I. Now, the question is, do we restart our life in each rebirth? Do we allow ourselves to be free of the karmic weight that we had behind us? Tony, so on the game. Tony says, hi, Eric, finally getting check in on one of your lives, always working around the time. Have a few minutes between jobs now. Fantastic, 301 6 counts today. Tony, thank you. That means an awful lot. Any burpee praise that I ever get from you means I've done something right. Means I'm on the right path, and that session came together because even before I started, as you know, even before I started my channel, I would communicate you on your page, on your channel, and we talked a little bit. You know the high esteem I put your practice, and that's been a word we've thrown around a bit in the burpee community, practice. And I actually love that expression, practice, because it allows you the imperfection, which is beautiful, because without that imperfection, what are we working towards? What is the Japanese expression of, is it wabi sabi, the beauty of imperfection? That's our practice, the beauty of imperfection, that something something shifts, something expands. We allow ourselves to keep working for that. You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, they talk of the authentic self. The legend of Bhagavants was a allegory, metaphor. I always get those mixed up. I think allegory is the better, more apt description of the Bhagavad Gita in the world of golf. It's a wonderful book. Tony, I know you're familiar with the author, Stephen Pressfield, because I know you read the Art of War. And he talks about the authentic swing, and in the Bhagavad Gita, the authentic self. There's the authentic burpee, and that's what we're in search of. We might get it once, and we want to get it again. Or we get close to it. It's almost a tease to get that close to it. But it's there. And as I've mentioned over and over and over again, it's as if David in the stone, David in the marble. And when Michelangelo was asked, how did he possibly carve David from that single block of stone? And he said, I removed everything that was not David. David was always in the stone. That authentic burpee rep is always there. It's in the session. We might uncover it. We might not. We might get close. We might not. But the truth is in the effort. The truth is searching for it and being non-attached to actually finding it. That's key. Tony, I know you haven't hit your big 150. Closer and closer. Hard effort after hard effort. But you don't give up. And you don't give up not just because you're determined. You certainly are. Not just because you're one tough SOB. You certainly are. But you don't give up because you're seeking that authentic rep. You're seeking perfection within the great imperfection of life. And the beauty is in the search, is in being unattached to the outcome, but giving yourself to the performance itself. mccarty says, with my twin sister, every rebirth. Yes. With your twin sister. Tony says, life is all about constant improvement. Humans thrive on it. Yes, I would agree in a sense that I'm not sure. I agree 100%. I'm not sure if I would actually use the word improvement, but we thrive on that constant search for improvement. We thrive on always, I like the word performance. We thrive on the performance that, and can the performance be improved? Yes. It's sort of like symphony music. It's perfect. And yet, every composer, every conductor believes that something wasn't quite there yet. Symphony music, for me, jazz is close, right up there. It's the music of the spheres. It's the vibration of the universe given to human ears, translated into what we understand as music. It's the voice of God speaking to us. You can't listen to John Coltrane and not think that had to come from somewhere, from the realms of God. You can't listen to, for me, Bach or Mozart, Beethoven. And I know those are, I know jazz, another thing you and I have in common. Tony, music, another thing you and I have in common. And Mocha as well. Tony, I don't believe you've had the opportunity to say hi to Mocha. Mocha, this is my friend Tony, still on the game. He is the most explosive burpee practitioner in the burpee community, if not the burpee world, if not the entire world. Honestly, Tony is a year older than me, which, doesn't seem fair. The reason he is so much better than burpees, he's got that year of experience over me. But truly an inspiration of what hard work, consistency can do. And taking that God-given natural talent, because he's just an explosive athlete, but it has to be worked on. Hey, Mocha. I was introducing you to my friend, Tony. Burpee Yoga Unk, how are you? Appreciate you being here. You are someone that I've long wanted to talk to about yoga. You and I share an obvious love for yoga, as well as burpees, as well as probably for a whole lot of things. Mocha, Burpee Yoga Unk is another, I believe we're right around the same age. Namaste and Camille. I love Camille. I recently reread um, the Myth of Sisyphus. My friend Robert Saltzman, who wrote the 10,000 Things and Depending on No Thing, did sort of a reinterpretation of the myth of Sisyphus. That, and it's true within Burpees, that it was the pain of life is worth living. Exactly. And what Robert's reinterpretation of Sisyphus was that he smiled through the toil. He smiled as he pushed the stone uphill. Tony says, behave, you better looking. That's debatable. But since I have Mocha here, I'm going to assume that Mocha's going to say yes. That when Sisyphus arrived at the top of the mountain, knowing that it was going to, or the hill, knowing that the rock was going to fall down, he didn't despair. He smiled because he knew he had the opportunity to push it back up. That's Burpees. That's Tony still in the game. He has that opportunity, another opportunity to strive for 200 or 150 Navy SEALs, another opportunity to push and hard. Even knowing he might not make it, it doesn't matter. Unattached from the outcome. As Unc says, and the universe doesn't care. The universe, in my view, and I'm often mistaken, happily so. Being often mistaken is my own stone up the hill. I'm always happy to be mistaken because it just means that my mind is reaching possibilities, expanding, and not settling. It can't settle, the mind being ever expansive in and of itself. So why settle on one thing and say, this is it? This is the definitive solution to the universe. It isn't. But the universe doesn't care personally because we are the universe. No separation between the two. The universe doesn't recognize us as an individual. Paul from Oregon, hey. Paul from Oregon and Mocha always take these conversations to a new level of weirdness. Consistently. Always. Unc, I was talking earlier, and I wrote in my blog about sun salutation being where I build my practice from. Foundation, because I know if I do sun salutation alone, I read the Tao Te Ching. I actually wrote a little book on the Tao Te Ching and the way of distance, applying it to ultra running when I was doing regular races, regular ultra running. I am, in my heart, if I had to apply a label, which I don't, I do my best not to. You know, I'm not a Buddhist, but I love the way of the Buddha. I'm not a Christian, but I love the way of Jesus. I consider myself a yogi, but again, that's a label. But I can easily say I'm a Taoist, or again, as my friend Robert Saltzman would say, he's a beist. He believes in being. That's it. All we know is being. Is there something beyond being? I don't know. How could I know? If it was beyond being, well, then I would no longer be being and I wouldn't have an idea. That's the thing with meditation and falling in the gap. When you're in the gap, you don't know you're in the gap because there's no one there to know. There's just that pure awareness. There's just that knowingness. There's just the Tao. When I'm out of the gap, I go, wow. There was something happened. I don't know what it was, but something happened. But there was no thought in that gap. We're beyond thought, pure consciousness. And then a thought appears, and we're back into the world of the 10,000 things. Burpee Yoga Uncle says that flows right into yoga. It's a breathing meditation of present. Yoga teaches that at its core. Yes, I definitely agree. Definitely agree. It's about flowing with the breath. It's about being the breath. It's about letting go. I like to think of it as poise. In that moment of poise, it's balancing. I'm never balanced. I know lots of people can point that out. I know Mocha can point that out. You've never been well balanced. But I'm always in the process of balancing. That I hit that point in the pose where I am poised. But then there's that letting go. Whatever happens, happens. Maybe I fall. Maybe I hold it for a breath longer. Who knows? Infinite possibilities. Yoga is the art of infinite possibilities. It's absolutely why I love it. And I'm not just talking the physical postures. I'm talking the yamas, the niyamas, the deep philosophy of meditation, of using the motion to prepare myself to sit longer and longer and longer. That's interesting that I said something similar. I wrote it in my blog not long ago, that just lying, just being with the breath, just being present, is extremely difficult. I'll bring that up in my blog, maybe not now. It was maybe 3-4 weeks ago that I actually wrote about Savasana and the difficulty, maybe I shouldn't say difficulty, the challenge of allowing yourself to simply be. Because technically we're labeled human beings, but we're not in action. We're human doers, always frantic, always in motion, always doing this and doing that and whatever. Yet ultimately, we are human beingness, beist. But we've lost track of that. Yoga is the process of getting back on track, rediscovering ourselves. That through motion, there's an underlying level of infinite stillness that is our reality. Stillness is what allows burpee reps to be expressed. Without stillness, you don't do a single rep. Without stillness, you don't have a song. You have one long continuous noise. Without stillness, you don't have a vase to keep the flowers in. Back to Heart Sutra, as I mentioned every single day. I'm sure everyone's tired of it by now. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. They're not two separate, distinct things. Emptiness doesn't become form. Form never becomes emptiness. Emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. That's what allows us to do a burpee rep. When we can get in touch with the emptiness, then those reps are expressed beautifully. That's why I love seeing guys at the top of their game. Tony, Burpee Uncle, Yoga Uncle. So many of you. Max, Busy Dad, Paul. When it hits, when that rep hits, when that perfect rep hits, you just know it and you recognize it. We've all had one. And we try to get back to it. Maybe more than one. I like to think I've had one. It's all I need. One perfect rep. As mentioned before the other day, the purpose of a burpee, just one burpee, is to do a burpee. And by committing to that, we get results. The result is fitness. The result is repetition. The result is a personal record. The result is whatever. But the purpose remains just doing a burpee. Yoga is its own purpose. Savasana is its own purpose, to be, to sit, to breathe, to bring that presence into light, or to bring light into presence. As I mentioned at the beginning, it seems everything I say has a way I can switch it around, and it makes just as much, if not more, sense. Mocha says that I was going to say earlier that most people think instant justice for a wrong is karma, but it's not. So thanks for the better definition. And also, karma is probably the name of a stripper. Not a bad name for a stripper, especially karma meaning action. So action, karma, Lola, karma Lola. And Yoga Uncle says 180 long sessions, somewhere around a few hundred to the end, like the Holy Grail. It becomes a meditation to me. My mind goes blank and only focuses on the next rep. Yes, definitely. Today, 301 6 counts unbroken. That you got to let go of everything but the rep. Had I planned on 301 reps, who knows? Maybe I would have broken. What I planned on was a rep, just a rep. Let's see. I'm going to bring back Tony, still in the game. That's possible. Might not make it, the 150, and that's okay. But for now, I keep chasing. Each session brings me closer to the movement. That's what I mean by David in the stone, Tony. Each session takes away a little mental quality between you and the rep, and you get more and more the essence of you. You take away everything that isn't that perfect Navy SEAL, and you get closer and closer and closer to that perfection. My guess, you're going to hit it. You're going to hit 150 because you're going to keep going for it. And again, I don't like using the word try because you're all effort. But that all effort is there. I don't see you give up when you know you're not going to hit 150. As a matter of fact, you double down and work all the harder, not because you think, well, I'm going to make it no matter what. You go all the harder because your nature is to go all the harder. Always inspiring to see. Yoga Uncle says, just like when I do a balancing pose, all I think about doing the pose and my mind is clear, especially balancing poses, especially for me in balancing poses. As again, I've mentioned, balancing is not my strong point, being balanced. Nothing is ever balanced. Everything is in process of balancing. It's just like finding something that is not in form, that isn't also in motion as particles and molecules dancing about. Let's see. Well, I'm missing a whole lot of comments here. Balancing poses like flying crow, standing toe hold, running man, chin stand, etc. If I think of other things, I'll fall out of the pose. Yes, I know that all too well. Flying crow is not in my wheelhouse. Crow, one of my favorite poses. That is what Lao Tzu teaches too. To be in the middle is the hardest. We're always pushed and pulled. It's the nature of life. I think you actually mentioned that on a live session not too long ago, Unc, about that's just life. Life pushes, life pulls. What do we do? It goes back to the word I mentioned before, responsibility. And again, I don't mean that in the sense of taking this big, I'm responsible for this, I'm responsible for that. But response ability, our ability to respond, to not always be reactive, to not always jerk ourselves into different positions and different whatever. That's the key to balancing. That's the key to being in a balancing pose. If I react, if I'm tipping over and I react instantly, overreact, I'm going to fall. But if I respond, same with burpees. If I respond to how I feel right now, I'm good for another rep. If I react, who knows what that reaction, especially when going unbroken, if I react to how I feel, I might take a step away. I might put my hands on my knees and gulp for breath. I might break from that unbroken streak. And then it's over, at least in that unbroken sense. However, if I respond to what that situation is calling for, I can keep going. It's expressed in a different manner, perhaps, but I keep going. It's the same in our relationships. Balancing, responding, not being reactive to everything someone else says and does. It's not personal. It's not personal even though we take it personally, but it's not personal because it's our response and it's our reaction. They're not inside of us pushing this button, pushing that button. They're just a reflection. So, all right, guys, I've been trying to wrap things up. Yesterday went to an hour and 10 minutes. I've been trying to keep things between the 30 and 45-minute mark. Still in the game. His name is Tony. And I need to show you these guys on YouTube, okay, to see their channel, because everything that I've said about Tony does not do justice until you see the effort put in there. Paul from Oregon looks exactly like Paul from Oregon. Picture what Paul from Oregon would look like. Picture a musician. Picture a musician that reads Philip K. Dick, and you have Paul from Oregon. Burpee Yoga Uncle is fit as F. Was gonna say it. I'm not sure if I'm censored on YouTube or not. 50 plus. He's a yogi. This is what a yogi looks like. This is what a fit, in shape yogi looks like. If you took a picture, that's it right there. But yeah, I just, by description, I can't do these guys justice, but you have to see it. Really a sight to behold. So I'm going to wrap this session up for the day, guys. I appreciate everyone joining me. I appreciate the enlightened discussion with all of you guys, every single one of you. That, as I mentioned before, I'm not here sprouting off things I think I know. I don't know anything at all. However, you guys get my mind going in all different directions. And that's what counts. That's what's of value for me. That's what's meaningful for me. Tony says, mentally for me, they become slightly less daunting each session. Just marinating the mind in the pain. You know what? It might be the opposite for me. I think they become more daunting each session. And that it's not that I'm meeting a challenge. It's that accepting my fate, as Gurdjieff would say, that I am voluntarily suffering, that I am cleansed by the suffering that I am dipped in within the realm of Navy SEALs. Never easier for me. The new challenge for me is doing things unbroken, doing 6 counts unbroken. I doubt I'll ever do Navy SEALs unbroken. I've tried before. I find it less enjoyable because I like pausing and then coming back in as explosively as possible. With 6 counts, though, as Unc was saying, your mind just gets that laser focus, and it empties. 2 different movements based upon the same thing, and I love them both for the differences that they offer. All right, guys. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here, and I will see everyone for burpees in the morning, and I'll be back to talk live again tomorrow afternoon. Thanks, guys.